Alright, this is Andrew with Joda Home Inspections. We are doing a sewer scope today here in Layton. We're at 945 Church Street. We have the camera pushed out 120 feet to the city connection. That's the city line that you're seeing on the screen now. Now we're going to pull it back and record it and see what we find. So that first connection point is called the nose on. That's where it goes from your lateral line into the main city line. A little bit of an offset there. Right hand side you can see kind of a lip. You have a couple of those in this line. So that's a spot where waste could potentially get stuck. If enough waste gets stuck on that lip, it can create a blockage where it backs up towards the house. The only way to permanently fix an offset is to dig it up and do a repair. That was a small one, but an example of what we're looking for. I think this is a clay pipe. Starting to go underwater here. Came out of it, so it's about 7 or 8 feet long. That's a belly, from what I can tell. There's a possibility that there's something blocking it on the other end. I noticed a couple offsets that I pushed through, but I didn't notice any real heavy roots. That would have been better, because roots you can hydrojet out, everything will drain on its own after if there's good grade. But if it's holding water without any blockage, that means it's bad grade. And so that belly is a spot where grease could settle and it gets real sticky, and then bigger pieces of waste can get stuck. Starting to go underwater again. And if enough waste gets stuck, it can turn into a backup. So that one was a little shorter, 5 or 6 feet. Not ideal, but the shorter the better. And it's hard to predict whether that would actually turn into a backup or not. Some people have small bellies and never have backups. Other families move in and have constant issues. So part of it is how you're using the line. You know, if you run a lot of water, that helps. If you're not putting a lot of grease or wet wipes down the line, that certainly helps. Depends how many people use the line. There's a lot of people flushing stuff down. You know, more chance of a backup or a blockage. If it's one person living in a house 2 weeks out of the year, a lot less chance. Another little offset there. That was a decent sized one, honestly. Can't tell what that is. That looks like maybe a root. I would recommend having that hydrojetted out. That's big enough that it's already covering a good piece of the pipe. I'd recommend having that jetted out. You could also have this cast iron that we've transitioned into cleaned. Cast iron gets real rough and rusty. You can kind of see the scale on the pipe. Another reason to not use wet wipes, even if it says flushable, they can be problematic. But I'd recommend having this cleaned. That could make it smoother. There's always a possibility that you clean it and it breaks through. And of course there's no way to see it with the camera and know how thick the pipe is. And so it's definitely, there's an inherent risk, but kind of a catch-22, because you want to clean it so that it's smoother and doesn't cause backups, but you don't want to clean it too aggressively, because then it can cause it to fail and break through. I would recommend the insurance on this line. In addition to getting it cleaned, and that way, if or when there's a bigger issue, they can help offset that cost. I'm going to end this recording now.